Welcome to The Explainer. So glad you're joining us today. If you're the kind of person who loves to peek under the hood to really understand the nuts and bolts of how large, unified groups actually function, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're zeroing in on a super specific, absolutely crucial role, the traveling overseer. We're going to break down their history, their massive modern-day responsibilities, and the core scriptural reason they even exist at all. Okay, let's dive into this.
Section 1. Gifts in Men, a Scriptural Foundation.
To really wrap our heads around the modern role of these men, and I mean to understand the staggering amount of work they pull off week in and week out, we actually have to start at the very foundation. We need to look at how Christ Jesus himself actually provides for the congregation. It's not just about setting up some basic, dry administrative framework. It's fundamentally about providing dynamic, living support. Read this quote with me. Ephesians 4:8 says, "When he ascended on high, he gave gifts in men." Notice that specific phrasing there? The source text doesn't just frame these guys as organizers or managers serving under Christ's direction. They are explicitly identified as gifts to the congregation. And a gift is something given for the benefit, the joy, and the enrichment of the receiver. Christ Jesus provided these men to serve the congregation in a really unique, moving way.
Let's move to Section 2 and see how this builds into an actual physical arrangement. The first-century blueprint, ancient origins. Because this whole concept of traveling men, it's definitely not some modern corporate invention. It goes all the way back to the very beginning. Right here, we have our first-century blueprint. Acts 11:22 reveals that the elders in Jerusalem intentionally sent out some pretty prominent early figures, men like Paul, Barnabas, and others, specifically as traveling overseers. Under Christ's direction, there was this centralized, highly organized effort to dispatch these experienced men outward. They weren't just wandering around aimlessly. They were specifically directed by the Jerusalem elders to travel and connect with all those scattered congregations.
But here is the critical question we have to ask ourselves. Why? Why expand the massive effort, the time, and the physical resources to send these men on dangerous, dusty first-century roads? What was the core purpose of this immense, organized initiative?
So the crucial point is, based on the accounts in Acts chapter 15, verses 40 and 41, their ultimate purpose was beautifully simple: to build up the congregations. This is the exact same foundational reason that ministerial servants and local elders are appointed today. They aren't there to tear down, to strictly police people, or to be a burden on the friends. Their mandate, from the very beginning, was to strengthen, to encourage, and to completely fortify the local congregations.
Section 3. Constantly on the move. The modern reality.
Now, let's seamlessly bring that ancient biblical precedent right into the present day, because that first-century blueprint has an exhaustive modern application in the role of today's circuit overseer. Hundreds. That is the number of kilometers some of these men travel just to get from one assignment to the very next one. In our modern era, depending on the geography of their circuit, the distance between one congregation and the next can be absolutely vast.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates the sheer physical toll and the immense dedication required for this role. Circuit overseers are literally constantly on the move to support the congregations. Just imagine that for a second, packing up your entire life, moving to a new location, establishing a rhythm, only to pack every single box up and do it all over again just a few days later. Maintaining this constant, unyielding momentum, it requires an extraordinary level of personal sacrifice and sheer stamina.
Section 4. A weekly labor of love behind the scenes. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it prepares us to see the sheer volume of work these men accomplish in just a single week.
It's so easy to think of a traveling speaker as a guy who just shows up and gives a single discourse. But the reality of their weekly labor of love behind the scenes is staggering. When they visit a local congregation, the clock is ticking and the schedule is packed. Just look at this list. A circuit overseer delivers several carefully prepared talks. But it doesn't stop at the podium. He goes out on personal shepherding calls to comfort and encourage individuals directly. He conducts a specialized pioneer meeting. He runs an intensive elders meeting to review the health of the congregation. And he conducts the meetings for field service. It is a heavy, non-stop weekly workload, just stacking these local spiritual and administrative responsibilities right on top of one another without a break. And yet, crazy enough, that is only half the picture. Because while they are managing all of those local congregation duties, they are simultaneously carrying broader circuit and branch responsibilities. They have to actually find the time to prepare those talks they deliver. They are heavily involved in organizing massive circuit assemblies and large-scale conventions. They act as instructors, teaching pioneer schools. They arrange for special meetings with the pioneers in the entire circuit. And on top of the whole shebang, they handle other, often super urgent matters directly assigned to them by the branch office. Their work extends far, far beyond the borders of any single local congregation. It is a breathtaking pace of continuous spiritual labor.
When we see it all laid out like this, from the ancient roads traveled by Paul and Barnabas to the hundreds of kilometers covered today, it really leaves us with a powerful thought. Looking at this exhaustive schedule and the deep love these men pour out every single week, how can we personally show deeper appreciation for these literal gifts in men? It's definitely something worth reflecting on. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. For more information, please visit jw.org. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and press bell icon to get the notification for new video.